Hi again. Why am I wearing this hat? This warm hat? Well, because the following poem takes place in a very cold climate, and I want you to get the sense of that cold as you listen to the poem that I've memorized. It's a poem about friendship and about keeping promises. It was written by Robert Service and published in 1904. And it's the Cremation of Sam McGee. There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The northern lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake Lebarge. I cremated Sam McGee. Now Sam McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blooms and blows. And why he left his home in the south to roam round the pole, God only knows. He was always cold, yet this land of gold seemed to hold him like a spell, though he'd often say in his homely way, I'd rather live in hell. One Christmas day we were mushing our way along the Dawson Trail. Talk about your cold. Through the parka's fold it stabbed like a driven nail. If our eyes we'd close, then our lashes froze, till sometimes we couldn't see. It wasn't much fun, but the only one to whimper was Sam McGee. And that very night, as we lay packed tight in our robes beneath the snow, and the dogs were fed and the stars o'erhead were dancing heel to toe, he turns to me and, Cap, says he, I'll cash in this trip, I guess. And if I do, I'm asking that you won't refuse my last request. Well, he seemed so low that I couldn't say no. Then he says with a sort of moan, 'Tis this wretched cold, and it's got right hold, till I'm chilled clean through to the bone. Yet 'tain't being dead. 'Tis my awful dread of the icy grave that pains. So I want you to swear that, foul affair, you'll cremate my last remains. Well, a pal's last need is a thing to heed, so I swore I would not fail. And off we set at the streak of dawn, but God, he looked ghastly pale. He crouched in his sleigh and he raved all day of his home in Tennessee. But by nightfall, a corpse was all that was left of Sam McGee. There was not a breath in that land of death, and I hurried, horror-driven, with a corpse half hid that I couldn't get rid because of a promise given. It was lashed to the sleigh, and it seemed to say, You may tax your bronze and brain, but you promised true, so it's up to you to cremate those last remains. Well, the promise made is a debt unpaid, and the trail has its own stern code. But in the days to come, though my lips were dumb, in my heart, how I cursed that load. In the long, long nights by the lone firelights, while the huskies round in a ring howled out their woes to the homeless snows, my God, how I loathed that thing. And every day that quiet clay seemed to heavy and heavier grow, but on I went, though the dogs were spent, and the grub was getting low. The trail was bad, and I grew half mad, but I swore I would not give in. And I'd often sing to that hateful thing, and it hearkened with a grin. Till I came to the marge of Lake Lebarge, and there a derelict lay. It was jammed in the ice, and I saw in a trice it was named the Alice May. And I looked at it, and I thought a bit, and I looked at my frozen chum, and here yelled I in a sudden cry, is my crematorium. Some planks I tore from the cabin floor, and I lit the boiler fire. Some coal I found that was lying around, and I heaped the fuel higher. The flames soared and the furnace roared, such a blaze you seldom see. Then I bored a hole in the glowing coal, and I stuffed in Sam McGee. And then I took a hike, for I didn't like to hear him sizzle so. And the heavens scowled, and the dogs howled, and the winds began to blow. It was icy cold, but the hot sweat rolled down my cheeks, I don't know why. And that greasy smoke in an inky cloak went streaking down the sky. I do not know how long in the snow I wrestled with grisly fear, but the stars came out and danced about, ere again I ventured near. I was sick with dread, but I bravely said, I'll just take a peep inside. He must be cooked, and it's time I looked, so the door I opened wide. And there sat Sam, looking cool and calm in the midst of the furnace roar, and he wore a smile you could see a mile, and he said, Please close that door. I'm fine in here, but I greatly fear you let in that cold and storm. Since I left Plumtree down in Tennessee, it's the first time I've been warm. There's strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The northern lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night in the marge of Lake Labarge. I cremated Sam McGee. Well, there you have it, and I hope you enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite poems. It's so colorful, and I encourage you to look it up yourself and read it aloud. I think you'll enjoy it. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Until next time, happy memorizing.